Welcome back to science class. We're going to be talking today about the scientific method, the steps of the scientific method, which we've done before. This is just a little refresher. And the process of peer review, which we saw over the summer meant when somebody who's qualified to do the same sort of science you do looks over your work to make sure that your conclusion is valid, that your experiment actually did test your hypothesis, okay, and that you made all your measurements correctly for your data. All right, I'll give you an example in a minute of how that works. Okay, so today's assignment has 2 pages. The first one is a sorting out the scientific method worksheet like we've done before. It has most of the steps we've talked about. Question, what you want to know. It doesn't show research where you look into what's already known or about what you want to look at or what might help you figure out how to do your study. Then you formulate your hypothesis, your prediction of what might be a possible answer to your question and how you're going to figure that out. Then there's your experiment, the steps that you follow to find the answer to your question, data, the observations and measurements that you make during your experiment, and last, your conclusion. Was your hypothesis supported? What did you find out? What is the answer to your question? Where can you go from here? How can you build on what you've already done? All right? And just like before, there are a couple different experiment studies here. We see what the experiment is for one of them. You have to find the other steps for this study and also sort out all the steps for a different study that are all mixed up together here. Okay? Now on the second page, we're going to do the peer review part. Okay, if we do peer review on the 2 studies there on the first page, you're going to find a serious problem with one of them. Okay? And your job is to tell me which study it is, and now you know what the 2 studies are about, and describe what the problem is with that study. Okay? And then your final question for your homework is, what's the example shown in the video? What am I about to tell you? So I hope you're here to see this. Okay? And we'll show you that. We did this worksheet over the summer. All right. Did this one. And sorted out these things. And I showed you how to identify the control and the experimental and the constants and the variables in one of these, and you had to do the other one. Okay? As a review for the quiz. Remember that back then? All right. Well, one of these has a bit of a problem. Okay? And it happens to be the boiling water experiment with the salt. Okay? I'm all right with, I'll put a thermometer in each of 3 pots of boiling water. Each pot will contain a different amount of salt. I'll observe and compare the temperatures in each pot when the water begins to boil. All good. Okay? Here are the data for that experiment. Pot 1 has 0 grams of salt in it. That means that was the control, and we would expect this boiling point to be close to what we expect the boiling point of water to be. Then we add 50 grams of salt in pot 2 and 100 grams of salt in pot 3. They are our experimental group, right? And since we're changing the amount of salt, that's our independent variable, and our dependent variable is here, these boiling temperatures. Now, if you were doing this in class, I would stop you once you started writing these numbers here in your data table. Okay, in science, we don't measure temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit. That is the problem. There's my peer review at work. Okay, I would not look for Fahrenheit temperatures here. I would look for Celsius temperatures. So I'd have you go back and redo it and do your temperatures correctly. That's how peer review works. Okay, it's one little detail that actually doesn't change your conclusion, which was up here. The result, boiling point of water does rise as the amount of salt in the water increases. Okay, but we didn't measure it correctly. That's my peer review of this study. So that has something to do with the last question on your work today. If you're having any problems figuring out what to do with this assignment over here, please just let me know and I will be happy to help you out. Okay? And if not, I will see you next time because that's it for today. Bye.